The last hope. The Xantorians had never known such fear. For centuries, they had ruled their corner of the galaxy, proud of their strong fleets and advanced technology. But now, all of that seemed useless. Their homeworld was under threat from an enemy far more powerful than anything they had faced before. The invaders were ruthless, crushing every planet in their path. The Xantorian defenses crumbled like paper under the invaders' superior weapons. The Xantorian Council gathered for what they feared might be their last meeting. The Grand Chamber, once filled with optimism and pride, now echoed with the sounds of desperation. The council members, the most powerful leaders of their world, looked tired and defeated. Their fleets were gone, their cities destroyed. The invaders had already reached the outer edges of their home system. Time was running out. "We have no other options," said Grand Marshal Kithur, his voice heavy with frustration. "We have tried everything, every strategy, every weapon, and nothing has worked. Our forces cannot stand against them. If we don't find a solution soon, the enemy will destroy us all. Perhaps we can negotiate." One of the younger council members suggested, "Maybe if we offer them something, our resources, our knowledge, perhaps they will spare us." Kithur slammed his fist on the table. "They are not interested in negotiations. They want to conquer, to destroy. They don't care about our lives or our world. They will not stop until we are gone." The room fell silent. Everyone knew he was right. The invaders were brutal, and nothing had stopped them so far. The Xantorians had always believed their technology was the best in the galaxy, but the enemy had proven them wrong. It was a humbling realization, one that left them feeling powerless. Then, from the far end of the table, a quiet voice spoke up. It was Chancellor Velen, one of the oldest members of the council. "There is one option we have not yet considered," she said softly. All eyes turned to her. Velen was known for her wisdom, but in these dark times, even she had been silent for much of the discussions. Now, though, there was a glint of something in her eyes, something that looked like hope. "What option?" Kithur asked, though his voice was filled with doubt. Velen took a deep breath before she spoke. "Humans." The word hung in the air like a ghost. Humans were the stuff of legends, a species that had once been known throughout the galaxy for their strength, their unpredictable nature, and their ability to adapt to any situation. But humans had vanished long ago, disappearing from the galactic stage without explanation. Some said they had destroyed themselves in a great war, while others believed they had simply moved on to another part of the universe, leaving the rest of the galaxy behind. Many in the room frowned at the suggestion. "Humans," one of the council members scoffed. "They are a myth. They haven't been seen for hundreds of years. We don't even know if they exist anymore." Velen didn't flinch. "They exist," she said firmly. "We have old records, hidden records. The humans were last seen near the outer rim of the galaxy, and they had technology far beyond anything we could imagine. If anyone can help us now, it is them." "But how can we find them?" another leader asked. "We don't even know where to start." Velen smiled faintly. "I do. There is a secret location, far away from our usual trade routes, a place where the humans once had a base. It is our only chance." The room was filled with silence once more. Kithur looked around at the faces of the council members. He saw fear, doubt, and uncertainty. But there was something else now, a tiny spark of hope. It was their last chance, and they all knew it. Finally, Kithur stood. "We have no other choice. If the humans are still out there, we need them now. Velen, prepare a ship. We will send a team to find them. Our survival depends on it." And with that, the decision was made. The Xantorians, once proud and independent, were now forced to rely on the one species that might still have the power to save them. Humanity, long forgotten by most of the galaxy, was now their last hope. The search for humans. The Xantorian ship, Hope's Light, moved quietly through the dark, empty space. It had been weeks since they left their homeworld, and still there had been no sign of the humans. Captain Lurek, the ship's leader, stood on the bridge, staring at the stars. He knew their mission was dangerous, but it was also their only chance of survival. The humans were their last hope. Beside him stood Velen, the old chancellor who had insisted on joining the mission. She had been the one to suggest searching for the humans, and Lurek respected her wisdom. But even he couldn't help but doubt. "Are you sure the humans still exist, Chancellor?" Lurek asked, his voice low. Velen nodded slowly, though her eyes were filled with uncertainty. "I believe they do. The humans were too powerful to just disappear without a trace. They went into hiding for a reason, I'm sure of it. We just have to find them." The Hope's Light was not a large ship, but it was fast, built for exploration. On board were a small crew of Xantorians, all loyal and skilled, but none of them had ever faced a mission like this. Their goal was simple: find the humans and ask for their help. But the galaxy was vast, and the humans had not been seen in centuries. The task ahead felt almost impossible. As the ship moved deeper into the far reaches of space, they passed through old battlefields, places where long-forgotten wars had been fought. Wrecked ships drifted through space like ghosts, reminders of battles no one remembered. The sight made the crew uneasy. "We're getting closer," Velen said quietly, watching the broken ships float by. "These are the places where humans fought their last wars. They're nearby. I can feel it." Lurek wasn't sure if he believed in such feelings, but he hoped she was right. Every passing day, their homeworld grew closer to destruction. If they didn't find the humans soon, it would be too late. "Captain, we're approaching the coordinates," one of the crew members called out. Lurek snapped out of his thoughts and turned to the main screen. There in the distance was a planet. It was dark and lifeless, its surface scarred with deep craters and broken landscapes. It didn't look like a place where life could survive, much less a powerful race like humans. "This can't be it," one of the crew members muttered. "It looks dead." Velen stepped forward, her eyes focused on the planet. "It's not dead," she said firmly. "It's hidden." The humans were masters of disguise and deception. They wouldn't make it easy to find them. The Hope's Light descended toward the planet, its scanners searching for any signs of life. At first, the readings were empty. The crew began to lose hope, thinking they had come all this way for nothing. But then, a small blip appeared on the screen. A signal, faint, but there. "There," Velen pointed. "That's them." Lurek ordered the ship to land near the source of the signal. The landing was rough, the planet's atmosphere thick with dust and debris. When they finally touched down, the crew suited up and prepared to explore. Lurek led the team out of the ship with Velen close behind. The planet's surface was harsh, with strong winds and jagged rocks, but they pressed on toward the signal. After hours of searching, they found it. Hidden beneath the ground was a large metal door, covered in dirt and debris. It looked ancient, yet still intact. Velen smiled. "This is it, the entrance to the human base." With some effort, the crew cleared the door and found a control panel next to it. Lurek pressed a few buttons, and the door slowly creaked open. A cold rush of air escaped from within, and inside was a dark tunnel leading deep underground. "Stay alert," Lurek warned as they stepped inside. The tunnel was silent, the only sound being their footsteps echoing off the walls. As they moved deeper into the base, they saw signs of human technology, machines and devices far beyond anything the Xantorians had seen before. It was clear the humans had been here, but where were they now? At the end of the tunnel, they reached a large chamber. In the center were strange pods, lined up in rows. Velen's eyes widened as she realized what they were. "Cryopods," she whispered. "The humans are still here, asleep." Lurek and the crew stared in shock. Inside the pods were humans, perfectly preserved, waiting to be awakened. Velen stepped forward and placed her hand on one of the pods. "We've found them," she said softly. "Now, We just have to wake them up. The awakening. Inside the dark chamber, the crew of the Hope's Light stood silently, staring at the rows of cryopod's. Each pod held a human, perfectly still, as if frozen in time. Captain Lurek could hardly believe what he was seeing. The humans, who had been missing for centuries, were right in front of him, alive, but asleep. Velen, the wise chancellor, gently touched the surface of one of the pods. "They've been waiting," she said softly. "All this time, they've been waiting." Lurek nodded, though a part of him was still uncertain. These humans were legendary, known for their incredible power and technology. But why had they gone into hiding? And why hadn't they come to help when the galaxy was in danger? "Can we wake them?" Lurek asked, turning to one of his crew members who was examining the control panel. The crew member, a skilled technician named Rylus, frowned as he studied the ancient controls. "It's old technology," Rylus said, "but I think I can figure it out. It looks like they've been in some sort of deep sleep. If I can activate the system, they should wake up." Velen's eyes were filled with hope. "Do it," she said. "We need them now more than ever." Rylus worked carefully, pressing buttons and adjusting settings on the control panel. After a few moments, there was a low hum, and the lights on the cryopods began to flicker. A hiss of air escaped from the pods as the system slowly powered up. The crew held their breath, watching as the glass covers of the pods began to lift. One by one, the humans inside the pods started to move. Their eyes blinked open, and they took their first breaths in centuries. Lurek felt a chill run down his spine. These were not ordinary beings. These were the humans of legend, the ones who had once ruled the stars. The first human to step out of his pod was tall and strong, with sharp eyes that seemed to take in everything around him in an instant. He looked at the Xantorian crew without fear, his expression calm and controlled. "Who are you?" the human asked, his voice deep and steady. Lurek stepped forward, his hands raised to show he meant no harm. "My name is Captain Lurek, of the Xantorian ship Hope's Light. We have come to ask for your help. Our world is under attack by a powerful enemy, and we have no one else to turn to. You are our last hope." The human studied Lurek for a moment, then looked at Velen. "You woke us for a reason," he said. "Tell me about this enemy." Velen stepped forward, her voice steady. "They are called the Torathians. They are brutal and relentless. They have already destroyed many of our worlds, and our fleets cannot stop them. We believe you, humans, are the only ones with the power to defeat them." The human was silent for a moment, thinking. Then he turned to the other humans who were now waking up and stepping out of their pods. "Prepare the fleet," he said simply. "We have work to do." Lurek was stunned by the humans' calmness. There was no fear, no hesitation. It was as if they had always known this moment would come. As the humans began to move, the Xantorian crew could see their advanced technology coming to life. The chamber was filled with the hum of machines powering up, weapons being activated, and ships being prepared for launch. What do you need from us?" Lurek asked, feeling a bit overwhelmed. The human leader turned to him with a faint smile. "You've done enough by waking us. Now it's time for us to do what we were made for. You can return to your people and tell them help is on the way. We will handle the rest." Lurek nodded, though he couldn't shake the feeling that he was in the presence of something far greater than himself. These humans, who had been hidden away for so long, were unlike any beings he had ever met. They were powerful, confident, and completely in control. As the humans continued to prepare, Velen turned to Lurek. "Do you see now?" she asked quietly. "This is why I knew we had to find them. They are not like us. They are something else entirely." Lurek could only nod in agreement. He understood now why the humans had become legends. They were more than just another species. They were the galaxy's ultimate weapon. And now they were awake. With their fleet ready, the humans began to board their ships. As they took off into the stars, the Xantorian crew watched in awe. For the first time in a long time, Lurek felt a spark of hope. The humans had returned, and the galaxy would never be the same again. Power of the human fleet. As the Xantorian crew returned to their ship, Hope's Light, they couldn't stop talking about what they had just seen. The humans were awake, and they were preparing for war. Captain Lurek had never seen anything like it. The humans moved with purpose, and their technology was beyond anything the Xantorians could imagine. Lurek sat in the command chair, staring at the display screen that showed the human fleet coming to life. Massive ships, dark and sleek, began rising from the hidden underground base. They looked ancient but powerful, like sleeping giants awakening after centuries of rest. Their engines hummed with a strange energy, and their weapons gleamed in the dim light of the planet below. "Are you seeing this?" one of Lurek's crew members whispered, staring at the screen in disbelief. "I see it," Lurek replied, his voice filled with awe. "I've never seen ships like these before. They make our fleet look like toys." Valen, standing beside Lurek, smiled softly. "The humans have always been ahead of us. Their technology is on another level. Now you understand why I insisted we find them." The fleet continued to rise, ship after ship, until the entire sky seemed filled with human vessels. Each one was enormous, with weapons mounted along their hulls that looked like they could destroy entire planets. The Xantorians had always thought their technology was advanced, but this was something else entirely. "Captain," a crew member said, his voice trembling slightly, "we're getting a signal from the human flagship." Lurek straightened up. "Put it through." The screen flickered, and the face of the human leader appeared. His expression was calm, his eyes sharp. "Captain Lurek," he said in that deep, steady voice, "we are ready. Our fleet will move out in 1 hour. You and your crew should return to your homeworld and prepare your people. We will meet you there." Lurek nodded, though he still couldn't quite believe what he was seeing. "Understood," he replied. "Thank you for your help. We won't forget this." The human leader gave a slight nod. "We do what must be done. This enemy threatens not just your world, but the balance of the galaxy. We have fought such enemies before, and we will do so again. But know this, Captain. Once we engage, there will be no mercy for the Torathians. We will end this quickly and decisively." Lurek felt a chill at the human's words. There was no hesitation, no doubt. The humans were not here to negotiate or make deals. They were here to win, and that was exactly what they would do. As the signal ended, Lurek turned to his crew. "Prepare for departure. We need to warn our people. The humans are coming, and they are bringing a war like nothing we've ever seen." Back on the Xantorian homeworld, panic was spreading. The Torathian fleet was growing closer, and the Xantorian defenses were barely holding. The cities were in chaos, with civilians fleeing underground shelters and military leaders scrambling to hold the enemy back. Everyone knew it was only a matter of time before the Torathians broke through. But then, just as hope seemed lost, something incredible happened. The sky above the Xantorian capital city darkened as the human fleet arrived. Massive ships descended from the heavens, their engines roaring like thunder. The Xantorian people looked up in shock and awe. These were not the small, fragile ships they were used to seeing. These were war machines, built for destruction and dominance. The largest of the human ships, the flagship known as Titan of the Void, hovered above the capital like a dark cloud. It was so large that it blocked out the sun, casting a shadow over the city. Its hull was covered in weapons, some of which the Xantorians couldn't even begin to understand. Lurek and his crew, now back on the ground, watched in amazement as the humans began to deploy their forces. Fighter ships shot out from the larger vessels, forming tight formations as they sped toward the front lines. Ground troops, armored in strange, high-tech suits, were dropped from the smaller ships, landing with precision and immediately moving into battle positions. "It's happening," Velen whispered beside Lurek. "The humans are here." As the human fleet fully deployed, the Torathians finally arrived. Their ships, though deadly, looked small and weak compared to the massive human warships. The Torethians hesitated for a moment, unsure of what to make of this new threat. But the humans didn't wait. Without warning, they opened fire. Beams of energy, faster and more powerful than anything the Xantorians had ever seen, shot from the human ships, tearing through the enemy lines. Torethian ships exploded in bursts of light, their defenses crumbling under the sheer power of the human attack. The battle had begun, and the humans were already winning. The first victory. The sky above the Xantorian capital was a chaotic swirl of flashing lights and roaring engines. The human fleet had arrived, and the battle against the Torethians had begun. Captain Lurek and his crew stood on the command bridge of the Hope's Light, watching the incredible scene unfold. From their position, they saw the massive human warships open fire. Brilliant beams of energy sliced through the darkness, cutting through Torethian ships with deadly accuracy. Explosions lit up the sky, and the shockwaves from the battles made the Xantorian capital tremble. Lurek could hardly believe his eyes. The humans were fighting with a precision and power that seemed almost otherworldly. The Torethians, though fierce, were clearly outmatched. Their ships were falling one by one, their attacks unable to penetrate the thick defenses of the human fleet. "Captain, we're receiving a signal from the human flagship," one of Lurek's crew members announced. "They want us to see something." The screen flickered to life, showing the face of the human leader. He looked calm and collected, as if he were overseeing a routine training exercise rather than a full-scale battle. "We are making progress," the human leader said. "Our forces are pushing the Torethians back. They are disorganized and retreating. This is our chance to secure a victory." Lurek's heart raced with excitement. This was the moment they had been waiting for, the first real sign that the tide was turning. "What do you need us to do?" Lurek asked. The human leader's gaze was steady. "Continue to support the defenses. Keep the remaining Torethian forces occupied. We will handle the main battle. Together, we will drive them from your world." Lurek nodded, understanding the importance of their role. The Xantorian forces, though weakened, still had to play their part. They had to hold the line and prevent the Torethians from regrouping. With renewed determination, they prepared for the task ahead. As the humans continued their relentless assault, the Torethians tried to fight back, but their efforts were disjointed and ineffective. Human ships moved like a well-oiled machine, coordinating their attacks with precision. Fighter squadrons darted through the sky, engaging enemy fighters and protecting the larger ships from harm. On the ground, the human troops moved with equal efficiency. Their advanced suits and weapons made them nearly unstoppable. The Torethians struggled to hold their ground, their defenses crumbling under the pressure of the human onslaught. The battle was quickly turning in favor of the humans. Hours passed, and the intensity of the fighting began to die down. The Torethians, realizing they were outmatched, started to retreat. Their ships fled from the battlefield, leaving behind a field of debris and wreckage. The human fleet pursued them, ensuring that the enemy would not return. As the last of the Torethian ships disappeared into the void, a cheer erupted from the Xantorian forces. The battle was over. The first victory had been achieved, and it was thanks to the humans. Lurek and his crew watched in awe as the human flagship, Titan of the Void, slowly descended toward the capital. The massive ship hovered above the city, its dark hull casting a long shadow over the ground. The human leader appeared on the screen once more, his expression satisfied but not triumphant. "We have won the battle," the human leader said, "but the war is far from over. The Torethians will regroup and return. We must be prepared for what comes next." Lurek felt a mix of relief and awe. The humans had shown incredible strength and skill, and their victory was a testament to their power. But the human leader was right. There would be more challenges ahead. "We are ready," Lurek said. "We will stand with you. Together, we will protect our world and fight for our future." The human leader nodded, a small smile on his lips. Good. We will need all the help we can get. But for now, let us take a moment to celebrate this victory. It is the first step toward a brighter future. As the sun began to rise over the Xantorian capital, the people emerged from their shelters, gazing up at the sky with hope and gratitude. The humans had come when they were needed most, and their victory was a beacon of hope for a new beginning. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. The Xantorians and their new allies prepared for the challenges ahead, knowing that together they had a chance to secure a lasting peace. The enemy fights back. The victory over the Torethians had brought a brief moment of relief to the Xantorian homeworld. The skies were clear, and the people began to rebuild and celebrate. The human fleet, led by their powerful flagship, Titan of the Void, had become heroes in the eyes of the Xantorians. But the peace was short-lived. The Torethians were not a race to be easily defeated. Though they had been pushed back, they were regrouping and preparing for their next attack. Their defeat had only hardened their resolve, and they were determined to reclaim their lost ground. Captain Lurek and his crew were on the command bridge of the Hope's Light, monitoring the situation. The crew was still buzzing with excitement from their recent victory, but Lurek knew better than to get comfortable. The Torethians were known for their tenacity, and he expected them to strike back with even more force. "Captain," one of Lurek's crew members called out, "we're picking up unusual energy readings from the edge of the system. It looks like the Torethians are assembling a new fleet." Lurek's face hardened. "How long until they arrive?" "Based on their speed and the distance, they should be here within 24 hours, the crew member replied. Lurek turned to Velen, who stood beside him, her expression serious. "We need to warn the humans. If the Torethians are gathering a new fleet, they'll come at us with everything they've got." Velen nodded. "I'll send a message to the human flagship immediately." The Xantorian communication system crackled to life, and soon the face of the human leader appeared on the screen. He looked calm but attentive, as if he had been expecting this news. "We have detected the Torethian fleet," Lurek said. "They are gathering a new force, and will be here within a day. We need your help once more." The human leader's eyes narrowed. "We suspected as much. The Torethians are relentless. We have already begun preparations. Our fleet will be ready to meet them. But we will need your forces to support us again." Lurek nodded. "We will be ready. We won't let them take our world." With the message sent, the Xantorian and human forces began their preparations. The humans worked swiftly, their ships being repaired and reinforced with new weapons and shields. The Xantorians also mobilized, their defenses being strengthened and their soldiers readying for the upcoming fight. As night fell, the Xantorian capital was alive with activity. The streets were bustling with soldiers and engineers working around the clock. The sky was once again filled with the hum of ships as they took their positions, ready to face the threat that loomed. Hours later, the Torethian fleet emerged from the darkness of space, a massive armada of warships and fighters. The sight was intimidating, an ocean of metal and firepower, moving with a single purpose. The Torethians had come to reclaim their lost pride and territory. Captain Lurek stood on the bridge of the Hope's Light, watching the enemy approach. The human fleet was already in position, their ships lined up and ready. The Xantorian forces took their places alongside the humans, prepared to defend their world once more. The Torethians did not hesitate. As soon as they were within range, they opened fire. Beams of energy and missiles streaked through space, crashing into the defenses of the Xantorian capital. The initial assault was fierce, and the skies lit up with the glow of battle. The human fleet responded quickly. Their ships moved with precision, their weapons firing in perfect sync. The Torethians were met with a barrage of counterattacks, their ships exploding in brilliant flashes. The humans were proving once again why they were such a formidable force. On the ground, Xantorian and human forces fought side by side. The battle was intense, with both sides exchanging heavy fire. The Torethians pressed forward, their soldiers determined and relentless. The Xantorian defenses were tested to their limits, but they held strong. Captain Lurek watched the battle unfold with a mix of pride and worry. The humans were fighting with incredible skill, but the Torethians were not backing down. The struggle was fierce, and every moment counted. "Captain, the Torethians are trying to breach our outer defenses," one of the crew members reported. "We need to reinforce the sectors immediately." Lurek gave the orders, and the Xantorian forces sprang into action. The battle was turning into a brutal test of endurance and strategy. Both sides were determined, and the outcome was still uncertain. As the battle raged on, Lurek couldn't help but admire the bravery of their allies. The humans fought with a fierce determination that matched their technological prowess. Together, they were holding the line against a powerful enemy. The fight was far from over, but for now, the combined forces of Xantorians and humans were holding their ground. The Torethians would not easily claim victory, and the defenders were ready to fight for every inch of their world. Humanity's greatest weapon. The battle above the Xantorian capital was relentless. Torethian ships continued their assault, and both sides were locked in a deadly struggle. Captain Lurek and his crew watched from the command bridge of the Hope's Light, their faces tense as they monitored the ongoing conflict. Despite their best efforts, the Torethians were pushing hard. The combined forces of Xantorians and humans were holding the line, but the battle was taking its toll. Lurek knew that they needed something more, something that could turn the tide decisively in their favor. In the midst of the chaos, the human fleet seemed to be preparing for something. Ships moved into new formations, and the energy levels of their weapons began to rise. Lurek had seen the humans fight with impressive skill, but he had heard rumors of a weapon so powerful it was said to be humanity's greatest. As if on cue, the face of the human leader appeared on the screen in front of Lurek. His expression was serious, his eyes focused. "Captain Lurek," the human leader said, "we are about to deploy our greatest weapon. It is a device of immense power, capable of turning the tide of this battle. We need your forces to create a diversion and draw the Torethians away from our position." Lurek felt a surge of hope. What exactly is this weapon? The human leader's gaze remained steady. It is called the Celestial Cannon. It can channel the energy of a star into a single devastating blast. It is our last resort, but it will be our greatest weapon. Lurek understood the gravity of the situation. The Celestial Cannon was a weapon of legend, known for its destructive power. If it could be used effectively, it might end the battle in one decisive blow. "We'll do everything we can," Lurek replied. "We'll keep the Torethians occupied while you prepare the weapon." The human leader nodded. "Thank you. We will need every second we can get." With the plan in place, Lurek's crew quickly set to work. They coordinated with the human forces, launching a series of daring attacks to draw the Torethians away from the area where the Celestial Cannon was being prepared. The Xantorian and human ships performed hit-and-run tactics, disrupting the enemy and creating confusion. Meanwhile, on the human flagship, the crew worked tirelessly to activate the Celestial Cannon. The enormous weapon, hidden deep within the ship, was coming online. Its massive energy conduits began to glow, and the ship's hull vibrated with the power being gathered. The Torethians, sensing the shift in the battle, grew more aggressive. They focused their fire on the Xantorian and human ships, trying to break through the defensive lines. The diversion was working, but it came at a cost. The Xantorian and human ships took heavy damage, and their defenses were strained. On the bridge of the Hope's Light, Lurek watched as the human flagship prepared to unleash its weapon. The air was thick with anticipation. Every crew member knew that this was a make-or-break moment. Finally, the human leader's voice came through the communication system. "The Celestial Cannon is ready. Prepare for the final assault." Lurek braced himself. "All forces, hold your positions and prepare for the next phase." The human flagship moved into position, its massive weapon aimed directly at the heart of the Torethian fleet. The energy levels of the Celestial Cannon continued to rise, creating a brilliant, intense glow. It was clear that the weapon was preparing for something truly monumental. As the celestial cannon charged, the Torathians pressed their attack, desperate to destroy the human flagship before it could unleash its weapon. The battle was at its peak, with ships exploding and energy beams cutting through space. Then, with a blinding flash of light, the celestial cannon fired. A beam of pure energy shot from the human flagship, cutting through the darkness like a sword of fire. It traveled across the battlefield, a wave of raw power and destruction. The beam struck the heart of the Torathian fleet, and the results were immediate and devastating. Ships exploded in a chain reaction, their destruction lighting up the sky. The Torathian fleet disintegrated, their once formidable forces crumbling under the force of the celestial cannon's attack. The battle was over. The Torathians were defeated, their fleet reduced to debris. The human flagship, though battered, stood victorious amidst the wreckage. Captain Lurek and his crew watched in awe. The celestial cannon had lived up to its reputation, turning the tide of the battle with its incredible power. The Xantorian capital was safe, and the threat from the Torathians had been neutralized. The human leader's face appeared once more on the screen. He looked relieved but exhausted. The weapon has done its job. We have won this battle. Thank you for your bravery and cooperation. Lurek nodded, feeling the deep sense of gratitude. Thank you for everything. The celestial cannon was incredible. We couldn't have done it without you. As the remnants of the Torathian fleet drifted away, the Xantorian and human forces began the work of recovery and rebuilding. The battle had been won, but the victory was a testament to the strength and unity of their alliance. Together, they had faced a dire threat and emerged victorious, thanks in no small part to humanity's greatest weapon, the final attack. The victory over the Torathian fleet was a turning point, but the threat was far from over. As the Xantorian and human forces began to recover from the intense battle, a new challenge loomed on the horizon. The Torathians, though defeated in their previous attempt, were regrouping for a final, decisive assault. Captain Lurek stood on the bridge of the Hope's Light, staring at the display screens. The sky was clear for now, but the sensors detected unusual activity at the edge of the system. The Torathians were not finished. They were preparing for one last massive attack. The human flagship, Titan of the Void, hovered nearby, its powerful weapons still primed from the previous battle. The human leader, who had been coordinating from his command center, contacted Lurek with urgent news. Captain Lurek, we have intercepted communications from the Torathians, the human leader said. They are assembling their remaining forces for a final assault. Their goal is to crush our defenses and take the capital. Lurek's face tightened with concern. How much time do we have? Based on their current position and speed, they will arrive in approximately 12 hours, the human leader replied. We need to prepare for the worst. Lurek nodded. We'll get our forces ready. We can't let them break through. The Xantorian and human forces immediately began their preparations. Engineers and technicians worked around the clock to repair and reinforce their ships. Soldiers trained for the upcoming fight, their resolve hardening as they faced the prospect of a final, all-out battle. On the ground, Xantorian civilians were moved to safety, and defensive positions were strengthened. The city's defenses were put to the test, with barriers and energy shields being reinforced. The air was filled with the hum of activity as everyone prepared for the looming threat. As the hours ticked by, the tension grew. The combined fleet of Xantorians and humans took up defensive positions, readying themselves for the incoming assault. The human flagship, Titan of the Void, took its place at the forefront, its weapons primed and ready for battle. The Torathian fleet emerged from the darkness of space, a vast armada of warships and fighters. The sheer size of their forces was intimidating, and their determination was evident. This was their final chance to achieve victory, and they were coming in full force. The battle began with a thunderous roar as the Torathians opened fire. Energy beams and missiles streaked through space, slamming into the defenses of the Xantorian capital. The city's shields glowed under the pressure, and explosions erupted across the battlefield. The Xantorian and human forces responded quickly. Ships from both fleets engaged the enemy, their weapons firing in precise, coordinated attacks. The human flagship unleashed its powerful beams, cutting through the Torethian lines with devastating effect. The Xantorians fought bravely, their ships moving in tight formations to support their allies. On the ground, the battle was fierce. The Torethians pushed forward, their forces determined to breach the defenses. Xantorian and human soldiers fought side by side, their weapons blazing as they repelled the enemy assault. The defenders held their ground, but the pressure was immense. Captain Lurek watched the battle unfold from the bridge of the Hope's Light. The situation was critical, and every moment counted. He knew that the final attack would determine the outcome of the war. "Captain," a crew member reported, "the Torethians are concentrating their fire on the northern defenses. They're trying to create a breach." Lurek turned to his tactical officer. "Divert all available forces to the northern sector. We can't let them break through." The Xantorian and human forces shifted their focus, moving reinforcements to the northern defenses. The battle raged on, with both sides giving everything they had. The sky was filled with the flashes of energy weapons and the roar of engines. As the fight continued, it became clear that the Torethians were desperate. Their ships were taking heavy damage, and their forces were struggling to keep up the assault. The human flagship and its allies pressed the attack, their combined firepower pushing the Torethians back. In a final, desperate push, the Torethians made a last-ditch effort to break through the defenses. They launched a massive barrage of missiles and energy beams, targeting the heart of the capital. The defenders fought back with everything they had, their shields glowing bright as they absorbed the onslaught. Just when it seemed that the Torethians might succeed, the human flagship unleashed a final, overwhelming wave of firepower. The beam from the celestial cannon, though not as powerful as before, cut through the Torethian forces with devastating force. The enemy fleet began to crumble, their ships exploding in a brilliant display of light. The battle was won. The Torethian forces, defeated and broken, retreated from the system. The Xantorian capital was saved, and the final attack had been repelled. Captain Lurek and his crew took a moment to catch their breath. The victory was hard-earned, but it was a testament to the strength and bravery of their alliance. The combined forces of Xantorians and humans had faced the ultimate test and emerged victorious. As the remnants of the Torethian fleet drifted away, Lurek felt a deep sense of relief. The final battle was over, and the future was once again in their hands. The cost had been high, but they had achieved what many thought was impossible. Together, they had defended their world and secured a fragile peace. A new beginning. The battle was over. The Xantorian capital, once under siege, now lay calm under the twilight sky. The last of the Torethian fleet had retreated, and the combined forces of the Xantorians and humans were beginning the work of recovery and rebuilding. Captain Lurek stood on the bridge of the Hope's Light, surveying the aftermath. The space around the capital was littered with debris from the battle. The once bustling city now looked worn but resilient. The human flagship, Titan of the Void, hovered nearby, its hull scarred from the fight, but its lights glowing steadily. Lurek turned to Velen, who had been by his side throughout the battle. "It's finally over," he said, his voice filled with a mix of relief and exhaustion. "We did it." Velen nodded, her eyes reflecting the fading light. "Yes, we did. The Torethians are gone, and our world is safe. But the real work is just beginning." The human leader's face appeared on the screen in front of Lurek. He looked tired but pleased. "Captain Lurek, congratulations on the victory. Your bravery and cooperation were key to our success." Lurek bowed his head in respect. "Thank you. We couldn't have done it without you. Your celestial cannon was incredible." The human leader smiled. "It was a joint effort. We fought together and succeeded together. Now, we must focus on rebuilding and ensuring that such a threat never returns." The Xantorian and human forces began the process of recovery. Engineers and technicians worked to clear debris and repair damaged infrastructure. Soldiers and civilians collaborated to restore the city, their efforts a testament to their determination and resilience. As the days passed, the capital slowly returned to life. Rebuilding efforts were underway, and the city's vibrant energy began to reemerge. The people of Xantor, once fearful and exhausted, now looked forward with hope and optimism. The human forces, having fulfilled their mission, prepared to return to their own space. The Xantorians were grateful for their help and wished them well. Captain Lurek and the human leader exchanged final words of thanks and respect. "We will never forget what you did for us," Lurek said. "You've shown us the strength of unity and the power of cooperation." The human leader nodded. "And we will remember the bravery of the Xantorians. You fought fiercely to protect your home. Our paths may diverge, but we have forged a bond that will last." With that, the human fleet began its departure, leaving behind a world that was forever changed by their alliance. The Xantorians watched as the ships faded into the distance, their hearts full of gratitude and hope. As the human fleet vanished from view, Captain Lurek turned his attention to the city. The capital was beginning to heal, its people working together to rebuild their lives. The threat from the Torathians was gone, but the scars of the battle remained. Lurek took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the past weeks lift from his shoulders. The future was uncertain, but there was a renewed sense of purpose and unity. The Xantorians and their allies had faced a great challenge and emerged victorious. Now they could look forward to a new beginning. In the heart of the city, the people gathered for a ceremony to mark the end of the conflict. They honored those who had fought and sacrificed, and they celebrated the spirit of cooperation that had brought them through the darkest times. As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the city, Captain Lurek stood with Velen and other leaders. They looked out over the bustling streets and the hopeful faces of their people. The future was bright with possibility, and the lessons learned from the battle would guide them forward. The Xantorian capital was no longer just a symbol of resistance, it was a symbol of hope and renewal. The alliance with the humans had proven that even the greatest challenges could be overcome with courage and unity. Captain Lurek knew that there would be more challenges ahead, but he faced them with a newfound confidence. The battle had been fierce, but it had forged a bond that would help them face whatever came next. As the night settled in, the city was alive with a sense of peace and determination. The people of Xantor were ready to embrace their new beginning, knowing that they had the strength and the allies to build a better future.